In the dark, I play my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Creating the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. Wrapping up in everything. Bringing change, making it last.
Welcome to episode 369 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living.
Permaculture, P-I-M-P, with soulful rays. In the Pimpcast, where we find our place.
Oh yeah, good to be here with y'all. Episode 369. Well, those are some curious numbers because Nikola Tesla talked about the numbers 3, 6, and 9, and basically that everything in the universe could be solved if you knew the significance of numbers 3, 6, and 9. And I just happened to once upon a time work out of local 369 in Louisville, Kentucky, or as they say it, Louisville. Yeah, you got to say it the right way. How you doing, son?
Pretty good. Every time you talk about Louisville, it reminds me of that Mama's Mustard and Pickles.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I took my buddy Michael there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fell in love with it.
Yeah, man, that place is off the chain. They also got the best fried pickles. Did y'all get any of those?
Oh, yeah, we got the wings and the fried pickles.
The fried pickles, they do fried sweet pickles, but they got a little spice to them, but they're not they're not ridiculous. They are, without a doubt, they got the best wings. Well, they're tied for the best wings of all time. They might even be number one, but they definitely got the best fried pickles. They don't have a whole lot on the menu, but good night. What they do have will absolutely knock your socks off. There's a bunch of other places right there in Kentucky as well, man. There's that one place where they sold burritos, and it's
Neo Burrito. Is it Neo Burrito? I
think so. It's over by the airport, and it's where all the chefs go when they're off duty. And they got this one, I hated the name of it, but it's called the Garbage. And it's honestly the best burrito I ever had in my life. So, yeah, that place. Well, okay. So 369. Yeah. Go check out Nikola Tesla 369, and you might find it very interesting. All right, this episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Heaven's Harvest. Yeah, go check them out. But what I meant to say was Harvest Right. Go check them out, too. We got a link for it down below. Okay, I'm a little bit too caught up in patterns right now. And anyway, either one of them, if you need storable food, go check out Heaven's Harvest. You need to make storable food on your own, and I got a feeling you're all going to wish you did here before long, because this year, remember my prediction video, y'all. I stand by it. This year ain't over yet, and I got a feeling that October, man, I can't even say publicly what I think. But if you go back and watch that video, I made a number of, I don't necessarily make predictions, but I thought, based on what I was saying, I thought we had a chance of a lot of crazy things going on. So October, November, yeah, and then that will bring us what Shakespeare called the winter of our discontent, as Richard III put it. Anyway, this episode, it's always monitored by Renewed Homestead. Want to give everybody, go out there and check them out, because like so many of us in this space, man, we are absolutely being suppressed. I'll come to that here in a second. Well, you know what? I'll just come to it right now. So check this out. Put out a video on Sunday, got back from Homesteaders of America on Saturday night, about 10 o'clock at night. And I kind of went in there under the radar. I didn't want to tell the whole world I was going. Anyway, went up there and I talked to Black's Tropical Homestead and a number of others over there. Who's the bee lady? The Honeystead. And also talked to, and by the way, man, I couldn't even believe how much her husband and I had in common. Both electricians, both, union electricians, and then both also served in the Army. Yeah, we had a lot in common, and we had, great discussion and everything. And then talked to a number of others over there, son. And I know it's going to be no surprise to you, and certainly not to a lot of the people out there that are watching. But everybody else was saying Well, first of all, there were some that didn't even know. Remember, I made that prediction. As soon as Trump got in the White House, everybody's numbers on YouTube were going to go into the toilet. Why?
Yeah.
Because everybody went back in the matrix, and they all confirmed, not all of them, but a number of them that I had conversations with, they all confirmed that. And then number two, any video they do that might make you question the mainstream medical model, either those videos are taken down or heavily suppressed. I did one yesterday when I got back, seeing all those flock cameras alongside the interstate and in every town. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really paying attention to it until your mom had brought him up a couple of days prior. And then T had brought him up because he was also there from Mountain Readiness. He was also bringing him up as well. And I was like, okay, I'm really going to pay attention. And I did. Man, those things are everywhere.
You call them flock cameras?
Yeah, FLOCK. Yeah, they're basically those cameras you see with a little solar panel next to them. They don't always have the solar panel if they have access to commercial power. These things are everywhere. I'm not going to go into the details of what they do and what they can do, but suffice it to say that this panopticon that's going on around us, folks, it is on another level. So I did a video yesterday on Sunday, put it out as soon as, a lot of times when I do these videos, y'all, I'm kind of like shooting from the hip. And I had a lot of time to think about it on the way home, and I was talking about that very thing. Well, son, that video was blowing up. I even put it out at a time where it's not going to do very well on Sunday. I was just being cathartic, getting something off my chest, and I was like, okay, I'll put it on a video, and then I'm done with it. Got up this morning, and this doesn't happen. Had 5,000 views on it, and then all of a sudden, it's like the powers that shouldn't be figured out what I said in that video. They chopped it off. 300 comments, and then they stopped. Not another comment on there from noon until this time. So, folks, when they do this kind of suppression, you better be getting your house in order, because you know that something is going to go down here before too long. They don't want you to know about the panopticon going on around you. They don't want you to know about the suppression. They don't want you to know how to heal yourself. They don't want you to know any of these things. And that's part of the reason why, it was like, okay, he didn't violate any terms of service necessarily, but we're just going to put, that doesn't happen, folks. So they basically put the brakes on that. And son, I know that sort of thing has been happening with you as well.
Yeah. Matthew 6:24 said, I just commented on that video and it disappeared.
Oh, there you go. Accidentally hit the, apparently a number of others, man, they told me on the last couple of videos, the front porch videos that I've done, that the very same thing. They're emailing me saying, hey, man, I don't know what's going on here. And then a couple of them have actually, and you can see it in this thread, like, hey, dude, why do you keep erasing my comments? I'm like, dude, I've never erased any comments, no matter how awful. I don't erase anything. And then, it's one thing if you see one person say it, but when you're starting, your email box is starting to get full with all these people that are saying, hey, I'm commenting, but it won't let me, or I tried to, they got this new thing where you can boost a video. I can't remember what it's called.
It's like an ad type thing. Like you can pay for advertisement on YouTube or to boost a video.
No, if you watch a video, you can basically hit that button and boost it somehow, make it more visible. And, when I'm seeing my email box fill up with a bunch of people saying, hey, man, why are you playing with my comment? And I'm writing back like, dude, I got no idea what you're talking about. I do not erase comments, no matter how bad, no matter how awful. I leave them on there because if they're ridiculous, I'm going to let you put yourself on blast. So I never erase comments, no matter what. Yeah, it's called the hype button. Thanks, Jesus. Yeah, it's called the hype button. And people are saying, hey, I'm trying to hype it. I can't do it. Or I'm trying to comment. I can't do it. Look, long story less long. There is a reason the powers that shouldn't be do not want you hearing this information or us discussing it. What they fear most is the sheep waking up, the pleb class waking up to what they're doing, and able to go up there and talk to other channels over there. Come to find out, son, it's happening everywhere, and I know it's happening to you as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's just frustrating. The combination of the suppression plus the YouTube algorithm changing every 6 months really makes it difficult to build any kind of momentum on YouTube. And that's what YouTube is now judging its growth on, is like momentum. So you're getting, this video is getting judged not just on the merits of this video, but also your previous video now. So YouTube is it's all screwy. It doesn't make any sense. The fact that one person can count as 4 views is ridiculous by itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole thing is set up, though. You can see if I get on here, let's say I do a video and I talk about all the homesteaders I don't like. I promise you that thing will get 100, 200,000 views, guaranteed. But if I do a video and I'm asking you to ask critical questions about what you put in your body, or maybe you should ask critical questions about the things that you did put in your body, now all of a sudden, we got a problem here. We can't have the plebs waking up. And then that also brings me to what happened on X today. I'm realizing now that I've been on X not very long, but long enough to realize how I was thinking, okay, well, I'll expand. Stefan Subkowiak basically encouraged me to get on X when I was up in Canada. And I kind of put it off. And then when I saw how we were being suppressed here and a number of others in this space are being suppressed, I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe that's not a bad idea. You know, it's more important that I get the ideas out. I'm not really it'll gravitate to the right people. It started off, I mean, the second I put out that video with Dr. Will by the river talking about how Western North Carolina, based on his test, rivaled Chernobyl, dude, from then on, I couldn't go live. I couldn't do anything. And I was like, okay. And now all of a sudden, ever since this whole Gaza thing, my feed, I am not even subscribed to 90% of these people. And you remember a little while ago, Netanyahu openly said right there in front of everybody that, we're going to use our influencers to go out here and kind of shape the narrative. And then he says, okay, he asked the audience, folks, you can find it on my X feed if you think I'm lying to you. He has zero respect for everybody out there where a foreign leader is saying, yeah, okay, well, we call them the woke Reich, which should be deeply offensive in and of itself by him saying something like that. And then he goes on to say, well, what's the most important platforms? And then he goes on to say, what's that one? TikTok. Yeah. Okay. He says, yeah, TikTok. Well, go and look who bought TikTok, y'all. Go look who bought that. Okay. And tell me whether or not that's one of his henchmen. And then he says, okay, well, Elon Musk is, a friend. And I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he says, okay, he's a friend. Now, all of a sudden, all over X today, I am seeing all of these influencers, and that story just came out a little while ago, how they're paying $7,000 on the minimum for all these so-called, and I say so-called for a reason, influencers to now sing the praises of Israel. Folks, I don't care where you stand biblically at the end of the day. This is the United States of America, supposed to be anyway. You should have a problem. If somebody has dual citizenship, everybody, if a third of your Congress was German American citizens, you would have a problem with that. But they're Israeli American, that's okay with that.
If they were Canadian American, you'd have a problem with it. And they're right next door.
Yeah. Or Mexican American. Go read what Teddy Roosevelt said about hyphenated Americans. Okay. Teddy Roosevelt. I'm not going to tell you the quote. Go back and look for yourself. Go see what he had to say about hyphenating. And I don't care if it's African American. I got a problem. I remember when it came out, I was still in the Army, when all of a sudden they came out with this African American garbage. You have no identity whatsoever with Africa. And then, of course, everybody going out there giving their kids these African names, knowing they came from Cleveland. So anyway, the point being, everybody should have a problem with this stuff with, I get in trouble every time I talk about this, but folks, we are on a knife's edge because frankly, all of the, it's like everybody is, they're going with whatever programming and brainwashing they have. And I'm just saying, look, forget about whatever religious proclivities you have. Just look at it in terms right now of you being an American. You should have a problem with any hyphenated American, just like Teddy Roosevelt said. And I'm not a big fan of Teddy Roosevelt, although he did say some pretty awesome things. But I'll come to that here in a minute to some of the other things that are going on X. Don't want to go sideways. Anyway, back to the farm news. Well, son, I've been accused. This is the first time ever. In that last video, I've been accused of being Illuminati.
What? What?
Illuminati.
Like you are a part of the Illuminati?
Yeah, because
Where's the money?
yeah, yeah. Well, I guess they left that part out.
There's supposed to be
Apparently-
some upside to this, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, man, I guess hey, they're giving me the slave version of it because nobody paid me a dime. And anyway,
Put you on the back of the Illuminati bus.
yeah. Boy, ain't that the truth, man? I get the Rosa Parks version of the Illuminati, man. They don't even get paid for this. Check out how they came up with this. Or they said I'm a Mason or whatever the case. No, I'm not a Mason. I'm not any of that stuff. Somebody says you bunch of Masons. No, I have never, and nor will I ever be a part of any of these groups. In fact, I've been invited more than once, and even though they're not supposed to allow to invite you, I've been invited to some, organizations, and every single time I've said no. So anyway, here's why. So apparently, I told your mom after I just got on the video, shot the video, said, okay, now put it up on the internet. And so if you don't take a picture, YouTube will pick your picture for you. They just happen to get a picture of me doing the A-OK sign. And so if you look at it the right way, it looks like 666, kind of like the Google logo. And all of a sudden, everybody's saying, hey, bro, you're Illuminati and stuff like this. So I was like, man, I wish they would pay a brother for this because I'm not getting the time. Yeah, you boys on my lunch hour break. I thought he was talking about that YouTube channel. So anyway, other things going on around here. Went to HOA. Didn't seem as last time I was there, the first and last time I was there before now was 2019, and it just didn't seem to have the same buzz that it used to. I don't know. Maybe it was just me, but it just didn't seem. I don't know. It seemed more of a festive environment the last time I went there. I didn't detect that so much. I mean, there was a lot of wonderful people. A lot of people came up to me, and I met a lot of new people. And, even some of the ones that were once considered big movers and shakers in this thing were kind of relegated to the kids' table, so to speak, in terms of tents. People that I thought that used to command a presence at the big stage were not at all there. It was bizarre. Like I said, it was cool to meet a whole lot of new people, but I remember in 2019, you would see everybody and a great grandmother with cameras filming this and that and this, and there was none of that. It was a little bit weird. I think I got suspicions on why that is, but it may also go back to the fact that every time a Republican's in the White House, everybody acquiesces. Folks, I told you this last year, about this time, maybe even earlier last year. Every time a Republican's in the White House, as if it makes a dime of difference between the two, everybody acquiesces. Every time a Democrat's in there, man, all the preparedness groups, everybody else comes out of the woodworks. So I think that's part of it, but I suspect there's some other things going on too.
I've noticed with homesteading festivals also, like once people have gone to a particular homesteading festival, and depending on the festival, it is true, but once they've gone to it, they don't typically go again because they're probably thinking, and I think I've heard this a few times before, that they've already received the information from that particular festival. Now, there are festivals like Kentucky Sustainable Living. I think every time I've taught there, I've taught a different class there. And then they get like new speakers and stuff like that pretty frequently. Almost every festival, they have new speakers or new topics. But some of these other festivals kind of do the recycled, like, oh, this did well last year, let's do it again this year. They do that over and over again. And in some cases, people are right with like, all right, I received the information from that festival. I don't need to go back again.
No, I couldn't agree more, son. I'm glad you pointed that out because it's like when you go to that one, and I'm not trying to talk down about them. I'm just saying, somebody says, where have you been? Your algorithm keeping you from me. Yeah, a lot of people said that very same thing in that last couple of Front Porch Talks that I've done. And I'm going to try to do one every Sunday. Should have been doing them, but I'll just keep on doing them because it's also cathartic to me. And honestly, a lot of people seem to really, well, the powers that shouldn't be definitely don't resonate with it. But a lot of other people out there, I guess I'm saying a lot of what everybody's already thinking. So, yeah, anyway, a lot of people have said that very thing. But no, son, it's like your mom said. It's like a lot of them will do the same tired classes that people have already had, and they're like, why would I go back? See, that's the difference. That's why I keep telling everybody the best festival you don't know about is Mountain Readiness. When it comes to homesteading, preparedness, you know, how to deal with medical injuries, you name it, there is no better collection. If there was only one festival I'd go to in a year, I swear it would be Mountain Readiness. There's not even, and very few people even know about it. And it's coming up this next weekend, by the way. And I'm going to be there. Look, y'all, I'm not even teaching this year because the classes are so fantastic. I want to learn. This is an opportunity. I can go there, and there are such a wide variety of instructors. And I guarantee I don't care how long you've been doing this. I guarantee there are things you don't know about. And this one is the best festival you don't know about. I'm telling y'all. You know, the other one, the one in the spring is usually bigger, but I'm telling you, this thing is the cat's meow. But I think you're right. I think a lot of people are saying, okay, man, how many times can I see chicken processing? Yeah. You know, and they want to graduate into something else. But I think there's a lot going on there. I just remember there being a lot more buzz back in, I think 2019 was the last one I went to. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Just didn't seem, it lacked a whole lot of luster to me, I guess. I mean, anyway, maybe I don't know. I can't explain what it was, but I will say that on the way back, I was trying to get back, and folks, I try as best I can to drive in the daytime hours only. I'd try the best I can, but you know, there were some things I needed to do while I was there, and it took me longer than I thought it was going to be. But man, I tell you what, I feel sorry for you folks in Southern Virginia. Good night. I have never seen worse chemtrailing in my life. Is going down 81 through Virginia. I mean, I've seen some bad stuff before, but man.
Oh, wait till you get to Dallas, Dad.
Oh,
yeah. Wait till you get to Dallas. It is constant haze in Dallas, especially once you get up to any kind of elevation. Then you can just see this just haze throughout the entire city.
Wow. Well, not looking forward to that part of it, but I am definitely looking forward to being to Healing for the Ages. And William and I are going to be there. So, yeah, but as far as all that, man, got out here, put some soil saviors on a place where we had a problem with a little too much silvergrass out there. Put that out today. You know, remember, keep that compost moist, y'all. You got to stay on top of it. If you don't, your organisms are either going to go dormant or they're going to die. Or it could be like nematodes and they're going to go deep. It could be any number of things, but you're not giving them the best chance if you don't keep it covered up after it's cured or while you're curing it, and also keeping that moisture ready. So make sure you stay on top of that. Put it on the calendar if you have to. I put everything on the calendar. And then finally for me, you know, I don't even have to, but I'm going to reduce the flock of sheep that I have out there. The grass is so robust right now. I've got more than enough, and I could easily run these guys, but I got boys in here that gots to go. So I'll be trading Jason from Sow the Land probably the middle of next month. And so you want to be thinking about that right now, folks. If you're going to be feeding hay at all through the winter, you might want to be thinking about, okay, where do I trim the fat, so to speak, in my flock, my herd, whatever you got. You want to be thinking about those things because it costs you money if you don't have grass stockpiled through the winter. And I've talked about it before, but I know we got a lot of new people all the time. Check out Jim Garrish, Kick the Hay Habit, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. And it's not that difficult to do. So you want to try to stockpile as much as you possibly can because it saves you money. If you got to sit here and feed hay all year long, you got way too many animals. So just think about those things. All right, son, what's going on in your world?
I spent all day filming. I filmed a video testing out that camera that you and Mom had sent for some upcoming interviews. I filmed a video talking about comfrey and moringa, and if you are buying hay through the winter, then comfrey and moringa could be a good alternative as well for like cutting comfrey bales and then cutting branches from the moringa tree for tree hay. Filmed a video on that, and then started filming videos on the chapter 6 of the permaculture design manual. I have a permaculture design course over on Patreon. But the chapter 6 is trees and their energy transactions. And we're basically talking about how trees are the backbone of the ecosystem, which is perfectly on topic for today's topic. Food forest cheat codes and everything. But yeah, trees are the backbone to ecosystems. And this chapter just kind of dives a little bit deeper into the reasoning behind it and the different different effects and different media that interact with the tree.
That's what I'm talking about. So those pictures and videos you sent to my grandbaby, of course, she's the sweetest. Anyway, coming up, y'all, Sovereign Health Summit. That's going to be next October, folks. We are bringing in all the people that have moved the needle in my life. Go check out the website, and we got probably a link down below. Sovereign Health Summit, folks, is going to be something on another level in terms of, I've said it before, there are so many homestead festivals out there. Thank you so much, Denise. There's so many homestead festivals out there. It's on the screen right now for those that are interested. We got no shortage of those. What we really need, at least I feel like we need, and I think a number of others as well, is we are in a place where I just did a video, this video and the one prior to that, talking about how we need to come up with our own systems of whether it's healthcare, whether it's, how we feed ourselves, monetary systems even. And a lot of this is covered, like William said, even in the permaculture manual. A lot of this stuff is absolutely covered in there, but very little emphasis is paid to it. So all the people that have moved the needle in my life in terms of, let's say, circadian health, you've never seen Barbara O'Neill on the stage or sharing a stage, but rather with people that are experts at circadian health. Many of you have never even heard it before, but it's one of the best ways to move the needle, and it doesn't require a doctor. It requires you getting back in touch with nature. And I'm doing the very same thing myself. And you're not always going to be successful about it. But it's not only that, it's a number of other functional medical people all under one roof. And the idea is to, at the lowest price possible, because the last time we were at a festival with Barbara O'Neill, I think the low cost tickets were $600. I don't know about y'all, but I don't know anybody that can afford that kind of money. I really don't know. So we're going to have 5 days with Barbara O'Neill speaking 2 to 3 times a day, along with a number of other backup dancers, talking about things that Barbara may not even know about. And you're going to want to know and be there, folks. So anyway, go check us out at the website if you're somebody that wants to advertise with us, or you want to be a sponsor, or you want to have a vendor booth. You can find it all right there at the Sovereign Health Summit. Anyway, this weekend coming up, like I said earlier, Mountain Readiness. That's going to be from the 17th through the 19th. I'm going to be there, and I'm not going to be teaching. I'm going to be a student, just like a number of others out there. So I am going out there in the homestead hunting, and we are going to we're going to learn some stuff, because this is where I get my continuing education. It's not I ain't saying there's something I can't learn at Homesteaders of America, but that's not what I'm going there for. I'm going to something like this because there are skills there that I don't have, and there's somebody there that does have them. And I'm going to go learn from that person. And there's a whole lot of festivals out there that are just, I don't know, just same old tired fluff. And look, man, I'm a veteran at this, and a number of you are also. So I'm not going to hang out at amateur night. I'm going to a place where I can learn something made for a journeyman. And whether you're just getting into this or whether you're way down the road, folks, I guarantee there's something you don't know about here. So also Healing for the Ages, that's going to be in Dallas in a couple of weeks. Perma will get you 30% off. So the Healing for the Ages conference, oh my goodness. Yeah, man, that thing is going to, I'm hoping to bring back a number of things that we can use as well. And when you have Dr. Artis, Dr. Group, Dr. Ely, and Dr. Schmidt all under one roof, along with a number of backup dancers, there's no way you're not going to walk out of there learning something. So I am thoroughly looking forward to it. And I hope to see a lot of you there. They also have an online version for it as well, so you might want to check that out. Okay, Richardson Nutrition, Perma will get you 10% off. I've talked about what they do, and these are the kinds of people that I'm talking about that are going to be at the Sovereign Health Summit. Go check out Richardson Nutrition. Go look at what they do, and look at what his dad was scrubbed from the pages of history for healing the big C naturally with Bravo 17. I can't even say what it is, folks, so they will cut this feed. That's how crazy it's gotten. They don't want you to know about that, especially when we got turbo cancers all over the charts. Everybody needs to know about what's over there. Well, anyway, Perma will get you 10% off. And then finally, Wave Watch. Billy 100 will get you squared away on that. And yes, I was wearing it this weekend. Now I got a different watch on, and I am blown away by what this thing is doing. So I'm going to give it some more time, and then maybe I'll tell you all about it. All right. So good news. Okay, so the ceasefire in Gaza. Well, is that really good news? I mean, I guess to a certain extent it is, because they went officially from genocide to just your good old-fashioned apartheid. So I can't even believe I just said that. But anyway, they went from genocide to apartheid. Huh. How about that? I guess that's improvement. And when I was talking about the social media people, son, it will blow your mind what you see on X. Every single one of these paid influencers, and I say paid, I'm talking people that I didn't think were going to ever sell out. People that I had the highest respect for, like Dr. Naomi Wolf, completely did a 180 on her previous positions. She's clearly being paid.
Well, everybody just got the gist from Charlie Kirk.
You know what? You may be right there. You may be right there. And the more I examine that, the more I realize that everything we all think we know about that thing is a manufactured lie. But people like Naomi Wolf, a number of others, I am floored how their position is now 180 degrees different ever since Ben Netanyahu, his real name is Milkowski. By the way, y'all, his real name is not Netanyahu. Didn't know that? Yeah, he's Polish. He has no identity to that place, but that's another thing altogether. My man went to school in Philly. Really? Anyway, Milkowski, aka Netanyahu, he came out, did that video, and then all these influencers that I had a certain degree of respect for, and I highly regarded Naomi Wolf because I know she came from the leftist tradition, and then I ain't going to say she went to the right, but she definitely came to the middle and said, hey, man, these people on this side are crazy, which clearly they are. There were positions that no thinking person could ever defend. And now she's absolutely, she and all the other influencers out there, it was like lockstep this morning. All of them saying almost, I even made a joke about it on X. All of them are saying the very same thing at a very same time. It's exactly the thing I talked about in the last video I just did. Maybe that's why they suppressed it. Because I had no idea that what I was saying in that video would be reflected the following day, because everybody today, I mean, when I say they stop, how do you have a video that has 300 comments and then it stops abruptly?
Oh, yeah.
And not another single comment or view. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, okay, I hit this one a little bit too early, because I'm talking about the very same thing that unfolded today. And all these influencers, I couldn't even believe it. It was like they all did cut and paste on each other's stuff and all put it out there, all saying the very same thing about the ceasefire, which, by the way, we'll just see how long this lasts, because I'm expecting, I don't know, give it a little bit of time. You could almost make a drinking game out of this. Like, how long before
end up dead?
What's that?
You're going to end up dead. You turn this into a drinking game.
No, I'm talking about before they were still sitting here bombing people in Gaza today, and they're talking about a ceasefire. I'm just blown away. I really don't even know what planet I'm on anymore. The reason why I'm saying you can make it into a drinking game, as far as you could almost make a bet on this, like how long before Israel's going to claim that they violated the terms and now we're going to go back to murdering. But I have never, the lockstep I've seen as of late, in coordination is so over the top that I don't know how anybody can believe anything that's being said. I really don't understand it. But anyway, I guess on the positive side, they went from genocide to apartheid. I guess that's improvement. So I guess we'll all take that one as a win. All right. So next one. This is good news. Beyond Milk, 6 foods that strengthen bones as collagen production declines with age. Folks, I know a lot of people like milk and raw milk. I really don't care for milk all that much. Now, William will drink his weight in milk.
Yep.
I'm just not a milk person. So when you see other options out there, and I won't go through all of them, but I will go through all of them, but I won't go into detail about all of them. This is, Mike Adams put this article out, and he was talking about things like broccoli, prunes, oily fish. Okay, I definitely get my share of that. Fermented food, beans, and bone broth. Okay, that's 6. So anyway, the bone broth, check. I do that every day. Beans, not so much. Not unless you want to see somebody clogged up like the Lincoln Tunnel at rush hour. Fermented food, I eat some of that every day. Oily fish, yes. Prunes, not so much. Broccoli, only when it's in season. So, anyway, that's, I suppose that's good news. And then finally, our last good news story, a lifetime in motion. New research reveals endurance exercise train the immune system to fight smarter. In a nutshell, I'll break it down for you. And I've always known this. People like Randy Couture, former UFC world champion in 2 different, first guy I think ever to be a champion in 2 different weight classes. He had said that one of the most therapeutic things that he did as an athlete, as a professional athlete, believe it or not, was walking. So to cut weight, like other wrestlers and people from that background will put on, sweatsuits and stuff like that. No, he would walk with intention. And that's basically what this article points out, is that if you're able to walk and at the same time do it with the expectation that you intend, he wouldn't run, he wouldn't sweat, he wouldn't do anything. And he would always cut enormous amounts of weight just by walking with intention. And that's basically what this article is saying. So you can go out there. It was like there was a study that was done by all of these ladies, these Hispanic ladies that were cleaning rooms. They were maids at a hotel. They told half of them, and they were isolated from one another. They told half of them, hey, you know what? We calculated all the effort you're doing. Do you know that during the day you are burning X amount of calories? And the other group, they didn't tell anything to. It was astonishing what happened. The ladies who were now working, knowing full well that the work they were doing, not only did they do it with a little more joy because they were realizing, oh man, I'm kind of getting a de facto workout here. Because mentally they knew that they were working out. I forget the level of weight loss and conditioning that they gained just by knowing that what they were doing, pushing those carts around, slinging out they calculated all of this, every last one of them to a person, because they understood that what they were doing was a net blessing to them. They ended up losing weight, and their conditioning in every way imaginable had improved big time. And that's exactly what Randy Couture did before fights. And that's exactly what this article is telling you, is that if you go out there and you walk with intention, or you can put in your pedometer at home or at work or whatever the case may be. I used to use that thing quite a bit, and it was amazing. Okay, you want to get, 10,000 steps in, and you can kind of look at it periodically and say, okay, I got to do X amount more. And it does work. So anyway, that's what this article is talking about.
That also confirms that Mark Sisson Primal Endurance book, or that Primal Endurance method, where you take like 180 and then you subtract your age from it, and then that's where you want your heart rate to be and to stay within that fat burning zone. So yeah, that confirms that as well.
And it works better if you do it with intention. If you're doing it knowing full well the blessing that it's going, mentally, it is really, really, Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this sort of thing, that just by doing it with intention. So folks, whether let's say you're in a job you may not like, which a lot of us have. If you're in a job you don't like, if you do certain tasks, maybe repetitive tasks, knowing full well that it might be a blessing to you, or maybe you work in an office and then you're doing little things that we've talked about here, opening the window a little bit, make sure you're grounded, Wear your blue light blockers if you're over there looking at these screens, or instead of taking the elevator, maybe you take the stairs. All those things with intention, they make all the difference in the world, folks. Believe me when I tell you this. Like Steve says, I always walk with intention. That's what I'm talking about. All right. With that said, y'all, we're going to go to my man, Eric Sider.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your Pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip, meters per hour. Permaculture is all about energy efficiency and performing an energy audit for any element or system. It is the only way to objectively compare any two things. The biggest mistake we make is to not put a monetary value on our time. As Bill Mollison said, there is no free lunch in nature. And just because you didn't spend money on it, you paid for it in your time. This is particularly important for permaculture earthworks. As Jeff Lawton always says, it's all about meters per hour. How many meters of a job can you finish per hour? Let's say a small machine costs $80 an hour to rent and a large machine costs $125, but can move 3 times as much material. So if you go with the larger machine, you finish the job faster and pay less money overall. Of course, factors like access and transport costs have to be considered. Basically, you should use the largest machine that is appropriate to your size property. You might own a machine and think it will save you money to use that versus renting a machine and/or an operator. Again, it's all about meters per hour. Your little tractor with a backhoe can technically dig a swale, but it might take 2 days versus a few hours with the right machine and operator. So doing it yourself versus hiring someone else is also a consideration. There is no right answer. It all comes down to valuing your time. Maybe sitting in your tractor for 2 days makes you as happy as a puppy with 2 Peters. Or maybe you could be grafting fruit trees while someone else digs your swale. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider. If you're in need of permaculture t-shirts, the official pimp gear of the Pimpcast, or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com. And for more info on my permaculture community group, head over to permaculturefairoaks.org.
Well, that's my puppy with 2 Peters. Dude, I'm glad I wasn't drinking anything when he said that.
I want to hear Eric say the N-word.
Hey, I give you full authority to do so, and everybody else out there, because that's what we all are right now.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So there's Eric Sider. But yeah, man, he's right on the money though in so many different ways. I'll tell you what. You can go out there, go rent a backhoe, and then go do what it is you think you're going to do. Let's say you're going to put in swales or some other kind of earthwork. You take that same machine and put it in the hands of a person who already knows how to operate that. You are going to realize how stupid inefficient you are. Ask me how I know. Because when you see a real operator who's done this day in, day out, they are not twice as fast. I would almost say in most cases, they are 10 times faster.
Yeah.
10 times faster, 10 times better. And if it's a person that's got some experience, they know how to read that ground. I mean, there's nothing like a great operator, folks. So, I could do it, but I would much rather hire it out to somebody who is an expert at that machinery. Number one, they're going to do it better. And in some ways, they're even going to make you aware of things that maybe you didn't really consider beforehand. Maybe soil conditions, because they've worked in that environment before. Things that, you might want to reconsider or consider just based on their experience. So, means all the still cracking up from Eric. Anyway, EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Remember, anything goes sideways in your house, let's say a lightning strike, EMP Shield doesn't catch it, and it blows up your computer, they're going to cover you for 25 G's. Find me another transient voltage surge suppressor on the market that can do that. Ain't going to find it. That's why I reached out to them. Just like every other advertiser on this show, I find the best. I reach out to them. Anybody solicits me, the answer 99% of the time has been an absolute no. Unless it's something I believe in and I reach out to them and I think, okay, maybe this is a good fit for this show. EMP Shield's one of them. Anyway, Perma will get you $50 off. All right, so let's get down to brass tacks on this one. Okay. Food Forest cheat codes fast results without having to wait 7 years. Now, let me kind of qualify what I'm going to say, because you're going to think, oh man, that's contradictory. Well, it really is not. Most people think that a food forest takes 5 to 7 years. And yeah, if you're looking for maturity before you can see any kind of fruit production from those trees, yeah, that's what you're going to wait for. Well, that's a lie sold by people who don't necessarily know how to design well. Now, I'm going to show you how to speed up production with smart design. And well, really, it all comes down to design. So right off the bat, I mean, William has his way of going about it, and I guess I'm going to talk about mine as well. Let's just start off with the elephant in the room, son. How about poor design? And that's going to equal wasted time.
Yeah. So, and space. Poor design wastes time and space and energy. So, if you're putting in your first food forest or your first orchard or something like that, like you don't need as much spacing as what the tree tag says, first of all, which is going to save you on space, because a lot of us are working with limited space. Most of us are dealing with like suburban lots and things like that, or 10 to 5 acres or something. So closer spacing between trees, closer proximity to your house. Somewhere I would put my garden between me and my food forest, but food forest just on the other side of the garden. Also close to like where your inputs are going to be. So if you have like an area that you have access to with like a water spigot, or it's closer to a road or something like that, like access to it is easy, or your materials are close to your input location, that's going to increase efficiency, which is going to save energy. There's a bunch of different ways. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun on anything that you got to say, Dad.
No, I was going to start off first with basically what slows down most food forests. It's going to be poor design, honestly, wrong species for the climate or the goals. I can't even tell you how many times I've gone into some of these nurseries where they get their trees from someone else, and they got trees there that aren't even made for your zone. And then you wonder why they never fruit. And you wonder why. Now, if you live in a place like I do, where I got 1,000 feet from the bottom of my property to the top, well, you know what? I got a Cortland apple up here. It is an apple that is more selected for the environment of New York. Well, for every 1,000 feet you go up in elevation, you kind of gain a latitude north. So I'm able to grow that apple if I put it at the right elevation that would bring me to, let's say, the temperature. I'm simplifying things to a great extent. But that Cortland apple should have never been on the shelf here to begin with. The only reason I even did it is because I put it higher in the mountain where I knew it would do well. And then we just happened to get an apple off of it the other day. And it was quite good. But the point being is so many people are selecting the wrong species. And I'll talk about some of the other things that do not do, starting too big and quitting too early. Yeah. Like you're going to make this giant food forest or orchard or whatever the case. You're thinking way too much space. You're going to follow the spacing on the tree tag, which is almost never, ever accurate, not even close, not if you're going to do it the permaculture way. And honestly, I wouldn't, if you can avoid trees in the pot, if you can get bare root, do it every single time. They are going to adapt better to your soil, and they're going to outproduce a tree that's larger initially in the pot any day of the week. And then treating a food forest like a landscape instead of a system. That's another big no-no right there. So go ahead, son. Take it.
Also, not diversifying enough. And I don't mean like diversity just for the sake of diversity, like enough diversity to build resilience and harmony within the system. Also, whenever you first plant trees, there's still a lot of sunlight hitting the ground between the trees. That's opportunity to grow other things, even if it's just a short period of time until those canopies start touching and shading everything out. There's still the opportunity to grow a lot of food between the trees. You could do annual production. You could do full sun perennial production and just plan on phasing those out as the canopies touch. But there's a lot of like wasted time and opportunity between the trees because you've already conquered the area. It's an area you already intend on growing. You've probably already put down cardboard and mulch. You probably already conquered the majority of the area. You might as well use it to grow some varieties that, you know, can do well in that full sun, and then phase into like partial sun or dappled sun loving plants as those trees mature.
See, I'm glad you pointed that out, because that brings me into the first cheat code that I'm going to start with. And these are your early producers. Let's say, some people, there are folks out there that are going to say, oh man, you got to get that hole ready before you ever plant the tree. I'm not that person. Okay. Because I've trained with some of the best, and I know that that doesn't have to be the case. Here's what I'm talking about. Let's say somebody says, oh, I wouldn't put in a tree. You need to wait a year. I know a very prominent person that will tell you that. And I can give you all the reasons in the world why that is not at all necessary. If I were to take that bare root tree and I put it in right now in fall, I put a lot of cardboard around it. And let's say before I even do any of that, let's say I put some raw manure on the surface, and then I cover it up with cardboard. Then I cover that cardboard up with some aged wood chips. I know that throughout, even though that soil may be lousy at first, I know that through the fall and through the winter, that tree is going to have every opportunity. That soil underneath that mulch ring is going to be vastly different from everything else around it. In fact, I just proved it over there with that polluted soil that was alongside the river. I put those trees in back when the soil was still not anywhere close to perfect. Ben and Denise were over there too, helping out, and Steve and a number of others. And I knew it was much improved, but it was nowhere near across the finish line. You look at those trees today, and they are doing absolutely wonderful. And everybody else would have told you, don't even think about planting these trees for a year. No, it doesn't have to be the case. You put a fat mulch ring around that tree, and if you were to take something like compost extract, you're going to speed it way, way up, or put down some awesome compost before you did any of that stuff, before you even put the mulch ring down. Hit it every week. I mean, good night. You will have a change in that soil in record time. So you don't necessarily have to wait. But here's some of your early producers that could get you off and running. Shrubs like elderberry. And I'm talking, these guys are going to produce in year 1 or year 2. Elderberry, gumi, currants, raspberries, blackberry, aronia. Those are shrubs. How about some vines? Hardy kiwi, grapes, passion fruit, depending on where you are. How about the herbs down there? Remember, we got 7 layers of a forest. So we want to try to produce food in every one of those areas if we can. So the herbs out there, whether it's you eating it or your animals, it's going to look for me like comfrey. And remember, every tree we put out here has oregano, thyme, and rosemary around every single one. We got yarrow. We got lemon balm, bee balm, you name it. Nitrogen fixtures that also produce food out there. And they go pretty quick too. We got several of those, like say Siberian pea shrub. I know autumn olive. If you tell people to grow autumn olive in like Texas, they're going to say, are you out of your mind? Look, it's already there. You don't have an autumn olive problem. You got a lack of sheep problem. That's the way you need to look at it. Okay. And then gumi. I mean, there's just so many, and then perennial vegetables like walking onion, asparagus, rhubarb, sorrel, all those things that you could be out there. Just like I kind of jumped the gun on, well, William jumped the gun on me, but either way, it's all going hand in hand. Before you're waiting for that forest to mature, why are you just waiting on that? You could be getting a harvest from these perennials or even annuals, if you prefer, long before those trees are ever off and running. Go ahead, son.
Yeah, no, that's it. Like utilize all 7 layers for sure. All 7 layers, it plus or minus 1 to 2. Because depending on like your orchard setting, you might not, like your trees might be your overstory. So if that's the case, then that's fine. You can put in like longer term overstories, like a couple of nut trees if you wanted to, just planning on those becoming your overall overstories. But what you're losing in overstory, you could potentially gain that 7th layer back doing mushrooms once those canopies touch, and then you have adequate shade in that area. I've seen at Jeff Lawton's, I saw him actually inoculate mulch, wood chip mulch, aged wood chip mulch with I think there was some sort of oyster mushrooms. And then he had I think some pretty decent success with doing that, with growing oyster mushrooms up out of the mulch for the this one patch in the food forest. But yeah, and then also like a design aspect from Stefan Subkowiak was, or Stefan, what did he say his name was? Stefan. Yeah, one of the design aspects from Stefan is designing it so where everything in this row is all going to be ready to harvest all at the same time or within the same period of time. I think that's a really cool thing that I'd like to implement in the future.
That is absolutely genius. When I saw it up there with my own two eyes, I was like, oh my goodness, man, this is so genius, where everything that's going to be picked in May, I don't care what the cultivar is, it's all down that one row. And then June, it's down that same row. And it didn't matter which part of it, whether it was overstory, understory, shrub, it didn't matter. And then, so what that kept was that now all the foot traffic, the whole place isn't getting trampled all year long. It's only getting and honestly, it does the ground real good when you can have a trample of feet come through there for a month and then it's left alone for the next 11 months. I mean, wow, you can't beat that. So, it's a beautiful, wonderful strategy in my view. But, some other cheat codes, and William kind of got into it a little bit, is using fungus. I don't know if some people would call it root booster, whatever the case may be. But I'm going to say compost extract is going to be my best friend, especially in the beginning of when this thing is kicking off. So some people are going to say, plant your soil before you plant your trees. I'm not a big believer of that. If you plant your trees in the, if you can plant your trees in the fall, because based on the work of Dr. Carl Whitcomb from Oklahoma State University, who's probably done more work on this than anybody, is that all of the real growth happens. This is why, they see everybody coming in spring. They know everybody's had cabin fever, so they give you trees and stuff to plant. It is the worst time to plant a tree. It's not the worst, but it's better than not planting one at all. Summer's going to be the worst, obviously. But if you can plant them in the fall when the leaves are off, your roots are going at 100 miles an hour. If you can put that tree in the ground, do some light pruning on it, and you give it what it needs in that soil, and you can kick it up with some kind of root booster that's going to help with, and I'm calling basically that's going to be a compost extract or a compost, even vermicompost, whatever the case may be. Dynamic accumulators like Comfrey are going to mine minerals that are down in the soil. They're going to be a high degree of weed suppression, and we're going to put those in close proximity. Another strategy that I used out there at that latest project was taking a nitrogen fixing tree and planting it in the same exact hole. I know it sounds crazy. So you're going to plant your, let me get here where you can see it. You're going to plant your, the tree you want, let's say your productive tree, you're going to plant it straight up and down in that hole. And then off to the side in the same hole, you're going to plant your nitrogen fixer where it goes off to the side. And that could be any number of things, as long as it's not a black or a honey locust. Okay. So you're going to plant those in the same hole. Why would I do that? Sam, why don't you explain what the benefit of doing that would be?
Well, the relationships that your nitrogen fixing tree is going to develop with the fungi in the soil is going to directly benefit your fruit producing tree as well. So they're going to benefit from having direct contact with because the nitrogen fixing trees don't fix nitrogen unless the roots are in contact, or it doesn't benefit other trees until the roots are in contact with the other trees. So this way, instead of waiting for the trees to grow up and then eventually make contact, they're making immediate contact as soon as they start growing. Also, the beneficial insects that the nitrogen fixer is harboring is right there next to the tree that you want to protect. But I will say, back to your previous point earlier about planting, like the season for trees, I would say that's probably the number one most common and biggest mistake that people make, is planting in the spring, not allowing the roots to develop before going through that hot summer, especially here in Texas. Like, you can almost go back and fix the rest of the mistakes as long as you plant correctly in the correct season with the correct methods.
Yeah, that can make all the difference in the world. But also using these cheat codes where you can take a nitrogen fixer, for example, one of my favorites is a false indigo. It can take the beating. So all I'm going to do, I got comfrey and false indigo in very close proximity. That first year, I'm going to put a massive mulch ring in there. But guess what? The false indigo for the next 5 years, as it grows up, twice a year, I'm going to chop and drop that false indigo. Don't worry, it'll be okay for 5 years. But after about 5 years, it's going to say, all right, man, I had enough of this. I'm not coming back. But by that time, your tree is off and running. And so all you're going to do is layer the false indigo. You're going to chop it up with your loppers, stick it around that tree, and then you're going to cover that up with the comfrey that you chop and drop around there as well. So you're growing all of your mulch in place, and every single time you cut off that nitrogen fixture, it's now, and it depends on which camp you're in. I don't care which one it is. It's going to benefit your tree, your productive tree anyway. Everybody thinks that when you cut a tree, when you coppice or pollard a tree, that it's self-pruning its roots. And, it becomes biomass in the soil. I used to believe that. I don't necessarily believe that anymore. I think what happens is that tree now puts down a ton of exudates into the soil, encouraging all the bacteria, the fungi, the nematodes, protozoa, they go into high speed because now the exudates from that tree that go down into that soil make these guys reproduce at high level. They're saying, look, hey boys, we got a catastrophic event up here. I need you to look, if you want to keep eating, you better get me what I need. And so this cycle goes over and over and over again. So that is another cheat code that you can really, really use and leverage in a big way, especially when you have lousy soil, which in most cases, that's what it's going to be. And like William said, it's going to take that atmospheric nitrogen. The nodules, the nitrogen fixing nodules have to be in close contact. But it doesn't matter because after a few years, 5 years, let's say, that tree should be so robust by that time. The fact that your nitrogen fixer died back is not a big consequence. So then you can just keep taking that dynamic accumulator called comfrey, throw it around that tree, and you're ready to rock and roll. That's what I'm talking about. Anything to add on that, son?
Yeah, the last point I want to make is that like most people focus on the first word of food forest a little bit too much, not realizing you can do other things with a food forest. You can grow fodder for your animals in the form of leaf hay, or even like pelletizing some of these other, like moringa. You can pelletize that. Same thing with comfrey leaves. You can grow animal feed. You can also grow your medicine down there as well. You can replace a lot of your store-bought pharmaceuticals, and if you are taking pharmaceuticals, kind of taking an audit of what you take, and then try to find like herbal alternatives to that for the time when you can't get to the pharmacy. It doesn't have to be a crazy catastrophe. It could be Hurricane Helene. There were plenty of people trapped in their houses that couldn't go and get their pharmaceuticals or their meds. You can also grow, a number of things. Your animals like supplements. You could maybe replace mineral supplements with comfrey leaves or moringa leaves. You can do any number of things. Your food forest could be a spot for a cache, like a really well hidden cache if you wanted to. Your food forest can be any number of things. It doesn't have to just produce food in a food forest.
Well, that brings me to my next part is, stack functions like a pimp. And what I mean is you're going to put guilds together, okay? So guilds that self-fertilize, self-weed to a certain extent, and really self-defend in terms of pests and things like that. So you take a classic apple guild. Let's say it's apple, comfrey, garlic. It could be any number of things. Clover, daffodils, yarrow, all of which we got here. You can use your livestock as pest control, or really should be using them as a fertilizer machine. And they could be chickens to a certain extent. And we've talked about this a few weeks ago about how I would be very careful about using them. Ducks are going to be slug control. Sheep are going to be grass control, or yarrow control if it gets out of control, because sheep will eat that stuff like it's going out of style. So less work, more yield, faster results. In a big way.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to answer some of these questions on here?
Yeah, fire away.
Okay. Renewed Homestead, Denise asks, is that the blue false indigo or the false indigo that you were talking about earlier?
False indigo. There's one of them, I think, out there that can be a little bit toxic, but your animals won't eat it unless they don't really have a whole lot else to eat. But yeah, false indigo is one of my favorites out there. It grows quick. It's very robust. It can be a little bit brittle, but I'm never going to let it get tall anyway. It's never going to be like it's never going to be the rock star in that issue, in whatever area I put it in. It's always going to be a backup dancer. Go ahead.
Juby Joe asks, why do trees seem to grow around your house foundation? That is because of the edge effect. Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever you build your house or a wall, you're creating an edge between the outside air, the outside soil, the outside rain, plus the structure that you put there. So any edge is going to accumulate energy and nutrients. So with that being said, like a seed is a little ball of potential energy. As the wind blows, it's eventually going to catch up against that side of the building. Birds perch on the edge of houses. They're going to poop while they're up there. It's an accumulation of water as well, depending on, well, my house accumulates water around the foundation. Yours probably shouldn't, but it's an accumulation of energy and nutrients along that edge. So that's why there's a higher tendency of trees growing along your foundation as opposed to the middle of a pasture.
Yeah, folks, you ever wonder why you have to cut the grass way more wherever your chain link fence is or wherever your fence line is? That's why. It's a function of the edge effect. Where two mediums collide, you're going to have way more growth of everything out there. So you can use that to your benefit depending on how you handle your management. But check out William's permaculture class and you'll figure out why. Also, one more thing. I got other notes here, but I know we're getting long in the tooth here, but you know, you can use these food forests and emerging food forests as something of a microclimate mastery. Use rocks and logs for thermal mass, or in the case out there that we're working with, there's a natural retaining wall, not natural, but it was a man-made retaining wall for the very point that you just brought up a minute ago. Okay, so in these areas, these people apparently really, really like figs. Well, figs don't necessarily all do that well in the mountains. Yeah, they'll grow up just fine, but are they going to fruit okay? Huh. You know what? I might be able to use that rock wall as a really good way to hold on to thermal mass, depending on how positioned it is to the sun. Obviously, if the wall is facing north, it's going to be less effective or maybe not effective at all. But if it's facing any other way, I could use that. This one just happens to be facing west, and it's going to bank a whole lot of energy that's going to be to the benefit of that fig tree. So you can use these things as a windbreaks, you can use those to stop moisture loss or gather some. There are so many different ways in which you can go about this and ways in which you can use those structures, whether man-made or otherwise, to be able to maximize what you got going on with that food forest. And also, finally, I'll just say this last thing, and I know we're getting long in the tooth here, but as far as funding your food forest, all the things we talked about previously, you could be selling seeds, cuttings, comfrey roots, willow, elderberry, elderberry syrup, all kinds of things that you can be doing to take that income and maybe apply it into a food forest fund, if you will. So there's so many different ways. We've talked about them a number of times, but I did want to talk about the big thing I wanted to convey in this is that you don't have to wait 7 years before you start getting a harvest. Like William said right from the very beginning. Okay, so I got a tree over here. I know I'm going to have to wait time for that. Okay. But until then, what are you doing with that interstitial space before it's okay? Can you alley crop in there? Can you do a syntropic type thing? Are there other methods? Could you run animals up and down there? It doesn't have to be wasted space, but it's going to be if you don't think about how you use your design. And it really comes down to planning prior. Folks, make your mistakes on paper, then make them with flags out in the field, just like we've shown you in the videos. And then when you and then as soon as you put the flags out there, I like to think on it for about a week before I ever actually put in a tree. And also want somebody else to take a look at it. So I think about it, walk through it, let my subconscious kind of work on it a little bit, because once you put the trees in, folks, we know a guy that wanted to put in swales after he planted the trees. Son, am I lying?
I was just about to say that. Earthworks come before tree planting. I swear, I was literally just about to say that. Yeah.
But that happens more often than folks realize.
Yeah.
You get here and you're thinking, okay, yeah, I got these trees in. Oh, shoot, I should have put in swales.
It's one thing if you're brand new to permaculture, you put in the trees and then you find out about swales and you're like, oh, shoot, I wish I would have done that. That's one thing. It's entirely different if you claim to quit Jeff Lawton's permaculture design course because you claim to know all of it already, and then say, I want to put in swales after I plant the trees. That's entirely different.
There are not everybody out there is going to have that level of lunacy, or, there are ways to absolutely to do little dams on trees and stuff like, but it is so incredibly inefficient and foolish, to be honest with you. If you can do it on the front end, it's always going to be better. So do your earthworks first. But yeah, a lot of this comes down to design. So like I said, you may draw it out on paper. I'm not, as crazy as it may sound, I'm really not much of a paper guy. I get a mental image in my head, and everybody's going to be a little bit different, but the way my brain works is I look at a piece of ground and I know what I kind of know what I want to do there. I have a really good idea of what I want to do there, and I will cogitate on it for weeks before I ever make a move on it. It might even be years, depending on what it is. And I like to think about it. And then, believe it or not, your subconscious, when you put those flags in the ground and you take a look at it, your subconscious is telling you, oh, this is a good idea, or you're just going to not feel at ease with the idea that you came up with until you find yourself at ease. And then honestly, have other people look at your design. Do not go out there ready, fire, aim, folks. It is such a pain in the keister to try to do these things on the back end. So you're always going to have some things you wish you did a little bit differently. But when you get down to brass tacks, try to make your mistakes on paper first, if at all possible. What else you got for him, son?
I think that's about it. Dad, you're gonna have to do a video revealing, how like what is it, nursery rhymes and like the Mother Goose tales and stuff like that always have like a lesson in the story. You're gonna have to come up with a series of lessons for that doctor in Texas that we know about, as far as like homesteading or just that chicken soup. Remember that Chicken Soup for the Soul books came out? You should do just a series of stories from this guy and just the lessons learned from interacting with them.
Folks, I'm telling you, this guy had more degrees than a thermometer, but didn't have any common sense at all. And I don't even know how many people in my life I've seen that way, where they are just, and I was wearing a shirt in one of the videos not long ago. It says addicted to elegance. I had Eric make me that shirt a while back, and I've only worn it, I think, to my knowledge. Maybe I've worn it more than once. Hey, homesteading pastor in the house. What's up, Pastor Mon? Anyway, I had him make up this shirt because I was so aggravated with dealing with people on a certain site that I was dealing with, where they want this unnecessary complexity. Where, look, elegance, the definition of elegance is concise and simple. That is the definition of elegant. And that's exactly what I'm looking for in a design. Not looking at how I can make this thing so complex. And as soon as I come across those people, I get away from them as quickly as possible. And in fact, you want to see me quit a job quick, fast, and in a hurry? Folks, I have walked away from jobs because even though they were paying me and paying me good, if I had to deal with a moron or a person that is just addicted to nonsensical garbage, my brain cannot tolerate it. And before I end up, going upside somebody's head or something like that, it's better that I just remove myself from that environment. Look, I was looking for a job when I found that one. So, this is part of the reason why I really want to stay out of the consulting realm, because even though I may be there in the capacity of a consultant, I just have a healthy dislike for nonsense. So if somebody's just insisting on doing something that I know is going to fail, I don't have it in me to deal with it. I just can't tolerate it. So, look for elegant systems, things that get the job done, and avoid unnecessary complexity as often as you can, because you don't see that in nature. So I don't want it in any design or anything I'm part of.
Yeah, the point of diversity and the point of complexity is to reach a point of harmony. That's the point of diversity. It's not diversity for diversity's sake. And in fact, too much diversity, too much energy going into a system creates chaos. Think of water flowing over a boulder. if you have a gentle, or not even a gentle, but if you just have the right speed of the stream going over that rock, you get vortices, you get aeration, you get all the benefits to the water downstream of that boulder. But if you have like a torrential downpour and then you just have a whole bunch of water flying through, you don't get these vortices on the back end. You get chaotic patterns on the back end of that rock, which is less beneficial to the wildlife in the stream, because then the fish can't chill on the backside of that rock being pushed down by that water. They can't just chill there and catch a break. You have a bunch of other negative benefits to having too much water flow down a stream at one time. But yeah, diversity and complexity to reach a point of harmony.
There you go. That's why I say unnecessary complexity. That's why I had that shirt made, addicted to, and that I've met a number of people that are addicted, and that doctor he's talking about is one of them. Unnecessary complexity. And, you know, I mean, there's other examples, many other examples I can think of, just unnecessary complexity that makes, when you're not the one necessarily doing the work on the back end, you're not thinking, oh my goodness, man, how did I just make this thing so much harder and harder to deal with? Like William said, you're looking for equilibrium in a lot of this stuff. You just want to get to a point where everything is happy, and you don't want to be putting in a bunch of stuff that shouldn't be there in the first place. Just go out in nature, see how it's done there, see how the good Lord put it out there, and then see how you can replicate it. All right, want to give a hat tip to everybody in the chat. Want to thank Denise from Renewed Homestead for monitoring the chat. Want to thank everybody out there for all the wonderful support. We do appreciate it. Till next time, y'all, stay alert.
Stay alive.
Roots that run deep, wisdom from soul, and permaculture dreams. Let the ideas unfold. I'm moving with the truth. Feeling nature's food. Who's got the answers? All we need to do. Listen to the earth, they got us through. Let's see the change, watch the world spin. From the smallest sprout to harmony begin. In the cycle of life, where the magic's alive. To the